to find one word to describe a life that's so hard to do. When a soldier gives their all, sometimes more, to bring freedom to me and you.
I'm Charles Rowan. This is Bucky Morrow. Today, this ain't about me like it was in Oklahoma for the last few weeks. It's about poems that he's very good at. And all the years we knew him, we'd keep hearing these poems. They're true poems. They were something that happened. I don't have to tell too many of you out there that when you take a job as a youngster and you wind up retiring on that job, there's dangers out there. When you work cattle in the open country or in the hills, in the mountains, my favorite thing was going and helping them. I never worked cattle, I worked on a farm ranch. But I worked enough with them to know the dangers there. Every time you take a trip to the mountains or your horse may fall in a gopher hole, things can happen. And things did happen. And he wrote a poems about them.
I wrote a poem about the best wreck he ever had.
Yeah. And so I knew Bucky since he was a youngster, and all I remember when I first seen him is a cowboy hat, chaps, boots, and spurs. And that's the way his whole life was. And things went by, and he lived up around Mendota working cattle at O'Neill's and different places. I don't know all of them, he does. Then time went by. I knew him, I'd see him now and then, we knew each other, but then Uncle Sam had a different job for him. It was called Vietnam. Well, after the war was over, he came back. I never learned a thing about Vietnam because he never talked about it. He went right back to punching cattle. Like that was the thing he's gonna do the rest of his life. Well, I knew Bucky's dad. He was a Westerner. He could have took some of it after him. He was a businessman, a good one. He came back to choose a Western way of life. And well, I'd go help him work his cattle, or we'd go help my brother Carol. Let me explain Carol. Carol was my kid brother, 11 years younger than me. We grew up together. That's a sad thing that we lost him. We lost him after all those years, what, about 3 years ago?
Right about this time of year.
Yeah, and anyway, all those years, Bucky worked with him, I worked with him, I grew up working with him. And things happened and people would be helping us, and we'd come home, we might find a shade somewhere. We'd stop in it and we'd ask Bucky, you got another poem? He usually did. We'd listen to that poem and then we'd write on, not telling him, but we all agreed. Them was the best poems we'd heard. So today, he's got them with him here, and he's gonna do these for the first time. And I'm sure that the public's gonna agree with me. If they don't, they better vote some other way.
Well, let's not talk politics.
Anyway, you ready to do that?
You bet, you bet.
And
I love you too, Bucky.
good friend all these years.
All right, now I'm going to read for you. Who and what I am is in my poetry. And my poetry is, there's not a lie in there. It's either happened to me or I watched it happen. I'll start out with a cowboy poem. It's about Toomey Gulch in the spring. That's back here on the west side. Good morning, Toomey Canyon. Look at you today. Spring has sprung and you're all green and your grass is thick as hay. You're not so hard somehow. You look roly-poly and fun. There's a softness to your meadows as the grass takes in the sun. Vaqueros rode this country, they must have seen this too. Just green with grass forever and capped in a turquoise blue. There's surely no tomorrow as beautiful as you today, but between this canyon and God, I'm sure they'll find a way. Makes me feel small somehow. It makes me look inside. Only cowboys get to see this, and that fills me up with pride. This is the reason I cowboy up, for just a morning like this. If I wasn't sitting on this horse, it's things like this I'd miss. Couple more weeks now, and your flowers will be in bloom. Big change from 2 months ago when this canyon was a tomb. Your hills will fill with color, meadows a golden blue. What a beautiful place to cowboy, and it's all thanks to you. It's fun to watch you now as you grow and turn to seed. This canyon grows good grass, and that's all these cattle need. Like he said, I'm a veteran of Vietnam, and so I'll take these poems and read some war poems to you and then read cowboy poems, and it should work out. This is about where I'm from, Mendota, California. I was born on the west side, raised there next to a feedlot called Coit and Canny. I ended up in Nam, and this is the story of me and my friends from Mendota. What happened to my buddies, the class of 65? Half of us boys went to Vietnam and only half of us survived. I'm from Mendota, California. That's Mexican for mud flat. We all knew we were Americans and most enlisted, and that's a fact. Some of us the Army, the rest went to the Corps. Some of us after we got home saw we weren't coming home anymore. Then we read the statistics. We were number 2 in per capita death. Number 1 was Porterville, California, and that still takes away my breath. We served our country well. Their families know who we are. I'm talking about those families, the ones that show the gold star. I remember everyone, only a few of us remain. The years have come and gone, but it hasn't eased the pain. So here I sit, pen in hand. I can see every face. I wish I'd been there to hold their hand when they died in that faraway place. Only God has all the answers, why some live and others die, why some families are reunited while the others simply cry. This is called the Rio Hondo. I worked the ranch below Cantua and the ranch that bordered it to the north. And I got to know their ground. It's a beautiful ranch. The contrast seen in the morning, like a knife's been taken to the hill. The canyons are deep and dark, and all the world's still. The only sound is my horse's hoofs as I work my way back in. I'm sure that soon I'll find cattle, and then the work begins. Right now my thoughts are my own as I ride to the break of day. My horse feels good and he's apt to buck, but I'll ride him anyway. The sunlight now casts shadows as we climb the lights on my back, coming out of the Rio Hondo up to the old line shack. There's cattle all around me now. I look at each one I see. If I miss a sick one, the blame is square on me. Think I'll stop and rest old Blue, step down and roll a smoke, look down this canyon at God's beauty and then take another toke. Day's half over and we've seen 'em all. The cattle are lying down. Me and old Blue Horse have made the crest. Today we've covered ground. Old Blue can sense we're going home. His stride again's brand new. He's nickering down to his buddies. He's gonna eat. His day is through. I'll talk with the other cowboys and see what they did today. We'll have a smoke and take a draw. My life's the cowboy way. This poem I wrote about Charles Rowan. It's not today, but Father Time, it can't be stopped. It's called The Old Cowboy. The old cowboy lives on my corner. Sometimes he'll stop and talk. He's bent, but he always grins, and I can see that it hurts him to walk. When he talks, he looks far away. Sometimes he even looks sad. but mostly he talks about cowboying, and that makes all of us kids glad. We love to hear about the days gone by, the days when he was like us, how he rode that ornery old blue, but we'll never hear him cuss. He loves to talk about mountains, how he loved the stars at night. When the sun would come up in the morning, he'd never seen such a beautiful sight. He wears a big old cowboy hat, and he says it's his good guy gray. He also has a bad boy black, but now it's been put away. We asked him, "Where's your buckle?" Then he grinned again. "I cowboyed for a living, boys. There was nothing there to win." He told us why he's all bent over, why some horses are just mean. They outweigh us by 1,000 pounds and just hate a human being. We've heard of the good horses too. He talks about them with pride, to leave out in the morning's cold and to feel him catch his stride. We can see his hands are broken when he leans down on his cane. They got that way from roping, he's lucky his thumbs remain. He worked all those different outfits, rode rough stock till he was done. He said getting hurt was part of the job, but he'd never had such fun. Only once as he talked of a partner, how they rode together for years. Said he got hurt bad on some outfit, and I could tell he was fighting back tears. But he never talks about war. He says we're way too young. We've got our whole life before us, so get out there and have some fun. We hope he's around a long time. I love to see him grin. We yell out, "See you tomorrow," and we hope we see him again. It's called Not a Hero, a Warrior. Everybody that wears a uniform is a warrior. But that doesn't necessarily mean the man will be a hero. And this is why I wrote this poem. The word's used way too much today. Don't call me a hero. I don't think so. All the real heroes are lined in a row. Some call for mama, but not out of fear. They knew they were dying, they just wanted her near. They'll never have children, no birthdays, no fun. They've given back life and now theirs is all done. So don't call me a hero. My life's long from done. They gave me this chance and I live in the sun. I have it tomorrow, one they won't see. In the words of this warrior, they're the heroes to me. It's called Cantua and Murrieta. Kind of a fun poem. Cantua Canyon, hard and straight up, where Murrieta was found. He was shot in his sleep, shot dead on the ground. The deputies weren't cowards, they just wanted him dead. And so proud of their kill that they cut off his head. They hated that Mex. What they didn't know was he was black-haired and blue-eyed and hated whites more. Born next to a mine and raised in bare feet, but picked up a gun when his mother got beat. He robbed the white folks and then he'd take flight, head for this canyon and disappear in the night. They couldn't catch him, people loved him so, treated him like Robin Hood, fed him and let him go. The Badges had more horses, that's how they run him down, and then they crawled upon their bellies and shot him dead on the ground. Maybe they weren't cowards, but they should have made a fight. They didn't have the balls, so they shot him in the night. That's how history looks at him, as I look upon this draw. He's looked upon as a colorful man, and not some ruddy outlaw. I have PTSD real bad, and so some of these poems, it'll be dead center. I wrote this as if I were my wife. Wake up, Bucky, it's just a dream. You're home, you're here, you're safe, and the neighbors could hear you scream. My God, your pillow is soaked in sweat. Bucky, you're white as this sheet. Sit back, old man, and catch your breath. My God, you sure look beat. Now just lay back and I'll stroke your face. Remember, you've taken me there. With every single night's embrace God gives you to my care. You're sleeping now, and now I'll rest. There's a quiet on your face. Every night you're with the best, but now it's a quiet place. This ought to liven it up. This is about a cowboy, a born liar. Cowboys love to lie about the broncs they've rode, how they rode that blue horse and never did get throwed, how they threw that perfect loop, just fed the coiled so, dallied and jerked him around, and then the healer let her go. The bull that broke a horn stands with blood in his eye, daring a cowboy to rope him, and that's when nylons fly. The lies are mostly fun. They're never meant to harm. The truth about the blue horse is that cowboy broke his arm. They love to lie about women. They're her only buckaroo. And just for them especially, there ain't nothing she won't do. That liar's in his heyday, whenever trading tack. Saddle's almost perfect, except for the tree is cracked. The lies just keep on coming as a cowboy works the day. Why does a cowboy lie so much? Well, that's the cowboy way. It's called A Moment in Nam, and it's about intuition. It's about being really scared. Once I told a new troop, you can't go with us today. We're in a firefight and needing ammo, and you'll just get in the way. He was too green to know how to stay alive back there. He didn't know I was right, and his death was in the air. He had tombstones in his eyes. I've seen a lot of death. I didn't care about hurting his feelings. I didn't want to hear his last breath. I got ammo to the boys, and we finished that firefight. Freeman came over and asked me why, and so I told him why that night. I told him I felt things, and my mother was that way. I told him I saw death in his eyes, and he would have died that day. I knew he wasn't a coward. I knew he'd passed the test. He did all right in his first firefight and turned out to be one of the best. Freeman was a big black man, sort of easy in his way. He had a smile I'll always remember, and I know he'd have died that day. When I last saw him, he'd had his brush with death. He said he'd come to believe me, and he thanked me with every breath. He was healthy when I left Nam. I hope he got home okay. We were brothers and comrades in arms, and I think of him when I pray. I hope he learned this lesson. When it don't feel right, don't push it. But know when to step over fear and just get out there and do it. Love you, Freeman. It's pretty much about me and Carol and like that. Carol Rowan was my pard, my best friend. There wasn't nothing we wouldn't do for each other, period. And what I owned, he owned, and vice versa. I rode for a living out with the coyotes and lizards. Summer's crushing heat and winter's cold and blizzard. But weather's not the story. It's how we cowboys were. Independent, well, in a group. Damn good, and that's for sure. Roping takes an artist. Bronc riders get respect. Cowboys do it all, but mostly get neglect. You'll never make good money. If you're hurt, you don't get paid. Just try and buy a saddle. Takes a year to get it made. You go to work all broke up, just like the other men. Not to be there when you're needed may be a mortal sin. It's the love of the job. It's loving what you do. It shows you how to be, and accept it when you're through. I was on PBRs in Vietnam, which is Patrol Boat River. Being on the boat was wonderful. It just got screwed up when you had to get off. When I got to PBRs, my life was about to change. Those boys were hard cut, and some of them deranged. They all became my brothers. I too became hard cut, and we took on old Charlie Kong, and no ifs, ands, or buts. There were 4 on a boat, and our guns could bring pee. We were good at our job, and we were out to kill Charlie. We found him a lot, and we studied our lessons. He gained our respect, and we got good at our profession. Those boats were just beautiful. They skimmed the water, no noise. We watched and tried to find them and start a fight with all them boys. Then there was Jock, William O. Majocamo. To him I owe my life. We were stripping bodies, and the Koreans thought we were Charlie. The slick opened up on us, and then our lives got gnarly. I fell back in the water, and I was carrying the prick. Majocamo grabbed the antenna, and he pulled me out real quick. Then he got on the radio and got a hold to talk. They called the Koreans and got that slick to stop. None of us got hurt. Why, I'll never know. Jock saved my life today. He was quite the show. We all loved each other, and all of us loved to fight. We were out to save our comrades. You're always in the right. This is called silence. Nothing but silence and wind through the grass. Memories of cowboys, and most of them past. Cowboying at Harris worked for Park Klein. If you were a good hand, you would work out fine. Worked for Carol Rowan, and that was on the Tri-J. 11,500 head of Mexicans, and everyone earned their pay. Cowboyed 100 ranches, went and honed my craft. Now I hear the silence, and now I am the last. I remember riding with Carol. Roping was nothing but fun. We always took a long draw before the work was done. I can almost hear their voices, and soon I too will go. I wonder if we'll rope again, but that's for God to know. Seems everyone has a place in their life where they can sit and be quiet in their brain, hear the silence. This is called that place. Everyone has one, that quiet place in the sun, where life can come together after life has come undone. A quiet place of solace, where the world's not so near. A place to take a breath, a place of little fear. My place is just a little tree, just a tree that's made a stand, just an aging old sapling, but now it stands quite grand. My wooden chair sits under it, and I'll sit there with a smoke. Those things that were so dire are now less than a joke. I remember what's important and what it means to be. So I thank him for my life and the life of that little tree. This is one of the nightmares that I have. I have PTSD pretty good. A lot of people do, and they don't even know it. This is called a Vietnam nightmare. In the gray before deep sleep, when small rooms are in light dreams, little rooms with wavy halls where nothing's as it seems. Figures are dark shadows. There's breathing to the wall. The rooms are all alive, and I retreat back in the hall. I seem to run and look about. It's all wavy and light is dim. I run back into that room. Now someone's coming in. It's hard to tell the figure, but the haze around him's fear. And now I can feel the danger, and I can't let it get near. Yeah, I must put aside. I must remember who I am. And what this dream is all about, this nightmare's Vietnam. This is just called Cowboy. That group was pretty weathered, every one of them a hand. The sight of them all mounted was absolutely grand. We left out before the sun. Cowboys love that sound. There is a certain rhythm to the hoofbeats on the ground. We were all lined out, a job for every man. We got up in and to a trot and covered a lot of land. The gather isn't easy. Some cowboys go down. Noses never look the same after plowing up the ground. Some of us carried whiskey, and that always drew a crowd. We had gathered 11,000. That day we all stood proud. It was 75 sections. We cowboys all stood tall. I'd never had so much fun, not that I recall. Morning seemed like springtime, the afternoon like fall. To watch those boys at work, yelling their cattle call, was all I ever needed. To ride with men like that, they were all artistas, and I'd bet my life on that. I'm going to read about PTSD now. This is called All the Noise, Quiet. The loudest sound I've ever heard was nothing in the night. No insect, not one bird, just high-pitched ringing fright. It hurts your head and sores your eyes, this sound of dread and stifled cries. There is no normal at this time. I just can't share the quiet. Now I use this pen of mine to explain this quiet riot that I call life. This is just called straight up PTSD. When I leave what's safe and the people here aren't free, the world's now a different place, round-shouldered with bent knee. Green is still green and the sky's still blue, but it's what's not seen and it's what they'll do. It won't be where I look, it comes from deep inside. The slightest prick, the smallest hook, now there's no place to hide. Again I wish that I were safe. Why do I make these trips? Again I'm closer to the grave, now my mind slips. A downward slide is where I'm at, my mind is spinning round. A bony hand is upon my back and my feet aren't on the ground. My mind's gone back and I see the dead. Why must they live again? With open eyes they show the dread, and their dying is my sin. No matter who did take their life, the matter is they tried. They struggled and they stood the strife, but I was left alive. So here I sit with pen in hand. My breathing comes with pain. I went and fought for this free land, and now it's pushed me down again. This is pretty much about God. And I wrote this up in Canyon, and I felt so free, and I started understanding things. How does he know all of us, every hair on our head, exactly when we're born and when we draw each breath? He's there for our entire life. How does he know each one? Never turned his back on us though we crucified his son. You see, he is inside of us. He's with us in our soul. It's soul, brain, and spirit, the three that make us whole. That's how he is with us. It's how he knows us all. And he will be there to catch us when we take that fatal fall. This is called That Chocolate Mustang. That chocolate-colored Mustang stood tall because of her dad. He was a Mexican jumping horse, born to give all he had. She stood about 16 hands, deep girth and big ass, great neck set and soft eyes. Man, that bitch had class. She was out of Strawberry, Nevada, off of Old Man Hooper's place, a big, beautiful valley and mountains to share God's grace. Me and old Carol Rowan, Took that 4-year-old in hand. At first she bucked pretty good. I was looking for places to land. But she leveled out in time. Got good in that snaffle bit. She'd work all day and be fresh tomorrow. I never saw her quit. This is my last Vietnam poem. And it's self-explanatory. When I see a vet come home, it sometimes makes me cry. It's really twisting in your head to watch a comrade die. Home will be too quiet. He'll want to see it through. Go back to all his comrades. He won't know what to do. His friends won't know why he acts that way. He'll seem way too anxious, and that changes from day to day. Things that were important now are put aside. He knows what real pain is. He's watched his comrade die. When you see a vet come home, another vet will cry. He knows the pain to come and where the pitfalls lie. All I can do is sit here and tell him what's to come. But if he doesn't listen, he'll surely come undone. When you see me cry, you'll know a vet's come home. And another vet will tell him he's not so all alone. This is about my tack from years ago when I was gonna be a buckaroo. The days of my Garcias, my days as a buckaroo, rode some awful broncs, some pretty good horses too. My saddle was a southern cack, mule hide around the horn, deep seat and high cantle, and it was a little worn. Wore chinks most every day, except for winter's cold. Then I wore them shotguns, and they too were also old. My spurs, they were Garcias. They're made in Nevada now. They had an awful lot of silver. Jumped that horse up on that cow. My gray hat was short-brimmed, like the cowboys of yesterday. Got a lot of kidding from the boys, but I don't care anyway. 'Cause I rode with the best. They helped me hone my trade. It didn't matter the pain or the weather. It's the best job God ever made. This is called a Rowan's Christmas. I wrote this for this clan. It's a lot of truth. Well, here it is, Christmas. Did you hug a loved one today? Did you hug someone you had trouble with, or just push that man away? Christ's birth is very important. He caused Rome to fall. Now with all their gods undone, there's only one to call. And that one is Jesus Christ. He'll answer the ones who pray. Even those who are sinners, through him will find a way. So what about us cowboys? We go under the bus? Not if we care for his animals and remember in God we trust. But they won't get drunk this Christmas. They'll play with the children instead and tell them a Christmas story and then kiss them and put them to bed. Here's a Kelly Christmas. I wrote about the spurs I'm wearing. A pair of Kelly spurs. I look at them and remember my pop gave them to me on the 25th of December. Beautiful with silver inlay, short shank just for roping. I thank my dad with tears. Words were never spoken. I also got no boots. Man, I was really living. 10 years old and proud from the presents he had given. Then my brother lost them while I was off in Nam. He didn't realize what they meant, and I don't think he gave a damn. Now it's been 50 years, and I found another pair. I traded my good K-bar, and I'm glad that cowboy'd share. Now when I put 'em on, I'm 10 years young. They remind me of those days before my life's undone. They're even more than that. They remind me of my dad. And though they are quite beautiful, sometimes they make me sad. Now when I look at 'em, the memories are clean. They were with me years ago when my life still had a dream. Okay, this was the eulogy that I wrote for Carol Rowan. And like I said, best man I ever knew. It was a hell of a party. We laughed at each other's pain. We cowboyed while all broke up in deserts and mountains and rain. Bad horses and hot whiskey, that was life when we were young. And Carol threw a long rope with no fear of what would come. He was my professor. He took me through each lesson. Next to him, I'm still green. He was the best at his profession. Like I said, we broke bones in the midst of laughter. Man, that life was hard. But I never looked over my shoulder, not if I'd saddled with Pard. So how on earth do we say goodbye? I don't think I can. He was so much a part of me that today I feel half a man. This is called fun. Boy, I love to saddle up when morning's lights and shadow. Voices seem so far off when cows just start to bellow. Throw that saddle up and feel him start to swell. Kick him in the stomach and then watch it go to hell. He'll pull back on the hitch rail. You watch your saddle get stomped. He breaks the goddamn lead rope. He's free, now off he romps. Takes about a half hour to catch him, but he's ready for the saddle now. How will I break him of this? Well, I'll try again somehow. It's called Roping to Me. They were 11,000 Mexicans, all Corriente cut. Not those little short horns, they were long, nose to butt. Weather didn't matter, didn't bother them at all. Those cattle all stayed healthy from early spring to fall. Cattle love this gulch because it's so damn steep, and all the grass is strong with meadows belly deep. They did have one real drawback. Some would get pink eye. That's what we told the cow boss when we let them nylons fly. Cow boss knew we lied, but he knew it was our time. You got to let a cowboy rope or he'll surely turn to crime. All looked great that fall, all had gained good weight. We didn't tell the feedlot boys what's coming or their fate. They better been well mounted when them Mex came off the truck. Turn your horse and whip and spur, 'cause cowboy, you're out of luck. It's called Harris. I worked at Harris Feedlot about 3 different times. And I only got fired once, and that's, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. I rode for an outfit of bankers, but their cow boss was quite a hand. We rode for old Pard Klein, and all of us for the brand. Over 100,000 head, all of them looked at each day. We damn sure better cowboy up or get fired and collect your pay. 30 loads of cattle were shipped before the light. That was 6 days a week and all that work done in the night. Coffee and resaddle. Shipping's hard on a horse. Maybe a shot of whiskey and celebrate that divorce. In the mornings we moved cattle. Swinging gates was quite a feat. Cattle always on your ass and again your horse is beat. Lunch is about 2 hours. Change horses and have a bite. Lie to the other cowboys about what happened to you last night. You unsaddled late in the day. Glad nobody got hurt. And that was a gift from God. No one had bit the dirt. Some days weren't that good. They were full of pain and sorrow. But even though we were all broke up, we'd settle on the morrow. This is looking back into the Cantua and Toomey Gulch, because if you're in the right spot, you can see them both. I look back into these mountains, and it surely grabs my heart. It's where I learned to cowboy. Here's where I got my start. The silence here is soothing. My mind will float away. I rode that old blue roan, it seems the other day. I remember cowboys' faces, but mostly how they rode. I get a quiet smile remembering them get throwed. These cowboys seem to wait for me. I'm the one of the few that's left, but only old men that cowboyed cherish every breath. To smell the sage in bloom and laugh at a cowboy's lie. Finish early and pull a draw and watch the hawks on fly. This is called Old Blue. I talk about him a lot because he really is 3 different horses that were blue roans. And each one of them was their own and a fine horse, I will say that. This happened to me in Provo, Utah. Out in Provo, Utah, on Jack Weimer's ranch, I saw a rangy blue horse and knew he'd be a chance. We'd gone up there to hunt. They'd just finished the gather. None had rode that blue horse. To me, that didn't matter. Pop and I got him saddled up. Had to do that in a chute. He tried to cow kick and bite, and he was mean to boot. Stepped up and untracked him. Then old Jack rode in. We went to check his beaver traps, and that's when the fun began. Everything went fine till he pulled a trap from the water. It wasn't a beaver at all. It was a foot-caught screaming otter. Old Blue spun and dropped his head, kicked out, and started to buck. Tucked my chin and started spurring. I could do this with any luck. He sucked back and kicked again, jumped back across the creek. I was getting loose and things were looking bleak. Then, for reasons I'll never know, his head came up and he lined out. Jack rode over laughing and said, "What was that all about?" I sat there and gathered myself, said I'd rode Old Blue, but this had been enough. Me and that blue horse were through. I want to talk to my fellow vets for a second. All you boys doing 3 and 5 tours and like that, things aren't ever going to be the same. You are different. Your mindset is different. What you have to do when you come home is find another vet. And you'll find out that you aren't alone. And that is the biggie. And it's hard to say to yourself, everything's so screwed up, I can't stand it. And when you don't say it to yourself and you live in a lie, you end up doing what a lot of vets do. They can't live with it. They kill themselves. And that sucks. You just spent all that time trying to stay alive to come home and hurt yourself. So please, if you're having trouble, which I did, spent half my life running blind, scared of things I didn't understand and hating things I did. So remember, you're not alone. And that's the most important thing of all. We're not meant to be alone. And these feelings we have about death, you didn't have to be around it. You didn't have to see it. You were living with it. PTSD doesn't necessarily become worse with the man that was in combat. And remember that too. Because you pushed a typewriter or something like that, you got the ability to be as sick as that man that saw death every day. So find somebody. Go to the VA. Go to the vet center. Please.
Today we enjoyed filming the videos of Bucky Morrow and his poems, which we think are the greatest ones we've ever heard.
Trying to find one word to describe a life that's so hard to do. When a soldier gives their all, sometimes more, to bring freedom to me and you. Not afraid to die, they're always under attack, even by their own people burning our flag. Months go by, they never see their home. A sacrifice made by the brave. Our everyday lives wouldn't be the same without the ones who serve the red, white, and blue. American legend, you're a hero who's all. American legend, you're what keeps this country strong. There's not a soul in these great states who hasn't been touched by what you've done. No, no. Deep down inside, when the colors are raised high, you can't help but to be proud of where you're from. Now I know what honor is. When 21 guns shed 1 million tears, you hold the road to this life I lead. Every night I say a prayer, asking the Lord to bring you back here to the home of the brave and the land of the free. American legend, you're a hero to us all. American legend, you're what keeps this country strong. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's not a soul in these great states who hasn't been touched by what you